Bloody hell. What a job. Pain in the backside. Good everybody, welcome to Kampala Road again, and this is my assessment of the Sharge track cleaner, as promised on my previous video. Before I start, I'd just like to say thank you very much for the feedback from everybody, subscribers and non-subscribers, who commented on my video of this about a month ago. Tremendous feedback. I know there's a lot of people waiting to see the results, so let's get on with it. But again, thanks. Really positive words were said. Obviously, buying this I had numerous questions to be answered, and this is my assessment really of the track cleaner and what I found over the last 5-6 weeks. One of my big problems here is I can't get IPA or isopropanol. They don't sell it in this country, believe it or not. Another challenge. Anyway, so what do I feel with it? Well, I had a number of questions about it to be answered, and they were basically, is it better than using a track rubber? Is it 100% fix? Will I have to clean wheels on locos so much as I have done since I've got the Z21? Residue issues on the track? Is it easier, and basically does it work? So I guess, like with everything, there are pluses and minuses, but overall 90% makes my life a lot easier than what I was doing before. Does it clean better than the track rubber? It's more thorough, I would say that, than the human error aspect of rubbing a track rubber and missing sections. I don't damage the scenery anymore. Cleaning the station, I don't have to remove the bridge, station buildings, etc., to get into the sidings and the platform areas. On that score, it is very, very good. Like I said, 90%. So my track cleaning now has gone from 100% track rubber to 10% track rubber. There are areas it misses occasionally. If I'm having a running session and I see a stutter, I grab the track rubber and clean that little area. I don't obviously go for this every time. But the main thing for me is I'm not having to clean the track every day. It's thorough. Obviously the chemical dissolves the dirt and oil on the track, and I'm now sort of cleaning once every 3 days, basically depending on how much usage it has. So for example, if I cleaned the track today, didn't use the railway at all, came back 24 hours tomorrow, I would have to clean the track again with the track rubber. If I did that with this, I know I could come back tomorrow and not bother with that and have a running session or start playing trains. In that respect, it's made life very, very easy. It's also enjoyable. Now cleaning the track, you come in and you know you've got to clean the track, and you run a train round to do it, so it is more enjoyable. The other thing I was really keen to see, do I have to clean the loco wheels less? The answer on that is no, and I probably have to clean the loco wheels more, but I'll come on to that in a minute. One thing I found fake news about these things is I've watched several videos where people claim that it cleans the wheels of the trailing or pushing loco. Well, I can tell you in my experience that is absolutely fake news. It picks up every scrap of dirt going. And you really have to clean these wheels on a regular basis to keep the loco going. And that makes sense really. It's either rolling over or pushing over wet track, which is dissolving grime and oil or whatever else may be on the track, and it's picking it up on the wheels. So where it cleans the wheel on the trailing on the loco, and the trailing train comes from, not in my experience. Now it has to be said that I'm doing this in the cooler period on the climate here. We've come out of a very hot period, dusty period, and we're in our wet, so the overall conditions are much kinder to my track work, and general grubbiness of the place with the amount of dust we get here. So I'm doing this on the back of kinder atmospheric conditions. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would. There are a couple of things I don't like on it, which I'll come on to, but overall I would recommend it. The unanswered question for me is the residue on the track. Now, the advice is 70% IPA, 30% water, and that's what I've been using since I started. I haven't digressed from that. When the track is slightly damp, it's clean. When you let it dry for a while, there is a black residue on the rails. Nothing earth-shattering, stop the show sort of thing. There is a black residue. I suspect that's what the trains are picking up. Now, if I switch to 100% IPA, what happens? I assume it evaporates and I don't get that residue. Now, I think the dilution is recommended by Sharge because of the concern of IPA on some plastics. When I finish my current mix, I'm going to switch to 100% to see what happens. I'll put it this way to you, I do or would not want to go back to using a track rubber. That's how I like this, and that's how it's made life a lot easier at Kampala Road. I certainly wouldn't want to go back to a track rubber, but a track rubber is essential. It is not 100% fix for me. A couple of things of note. Pulling is much easier than propelling. It's light, and on my undulating track work, it does derail when propelling in certain areas if I'm not very careful. And that's partly because of the pad here. It is absolutely crucial that the resistance against the rails is right. If it's too much, the front bogie tends to lift and the train struggles to push, and the small couplings here tend to ride up and push the whole unit off the track. Obviously, if you have this too high and the pressure too little, it's then not touching the rails properly. So it is crucial you have that adjustment right, and that's its major flaw, because there's a part of it that's a complete pain in the backside. Okay, now the difficult bit is where the pad is, and I did intimate this when I did the first video. These clips here, they are a complete, utter pain in the arse. And guys, if you've just had a manicure or you've got your false fingernails on, don't even attempt to undo those clips. These clips, anybody in a CMX will know what I'm talking about, and the CMX are much bigger. They don't appear to be strong enough to me. I don't know how long they'll last, because every time I unclip to get this pad off, it is very, very difficult to get it off with your finger. I use a screwdriver to force it down, and then you'll lose your fingernails trying to get it back on. It is awkward, let's put it like that. That's the only really negative thing I can find about it, and it is really negative because it is, you want to pick it up to turn it over to put the pad on. Now if you've got fluid inside, even if you've got the valves closed, it leaks. And being as IPA and Uganda is like gold dust, I'm a bit stingy with it because I don't have too much. And as I said, I don't want to go back to a track rubber. This is very, very difficult, and I've thought about phoning George to talk to him about it. There must be better material he can use, because I fear, and I may be wrong, but I fear these are not going to stand the test of time. Now if one does break, you can obviously fabricate your own. It's not hard. The other thing I found though, that when you're fighting to get these back on, you affect the adjustment here of the two screws, and then you have to take it off again and take the pad off to readjust. I've done that once, and when I learnt it I was then more careful in how you manhandle this pad here. When you're putting the new piece of cloth on, you do it very carefully and you don't force it. But that's really the only negative I could find. I'm sure propelling is fine on a normal good baseboards, but on mine, where especially points which are not flat, it struggles. And what I actually did to help the situation, I put a Queen Mary brake van on the front here when propelling, and that really helped out the situation. No problems there. But of course when you're in sidings you have to take that off, otherwise you've got quite a large area that won't be cleaned with the brake van in the way. The other only thing that you could probably fabricate yourself, they do have the narrow decoupling. Let me just raise the camera. They do have the narrow decoupling, and it can ride up over the top of the Sharge track cleaner, and as you can see there, it has already started, and it has actually started forcing that wheel off the track. So I mean, this is, people prefer these, but I know from experience on these PGA wagons in the back there, yeah, sure, there are big ugly things, these decouplings, but I can propel those at top speed without them coming off almost, you know. The functionality dies away when propelling with these. You could, I thought about making a plate here so it didn't ride up, and then when the locomotive pushed, the decoupling would push against the plate here, which would help. Obviously the other thing is just pull it round rather than propel. But it pulls on the down line, it propels on the up. And I generally get away with it, but it does occasionally derail. So I found this loco to be absolutely perfect. I knew it would be, that's why I started off with it. The Helgen Bobos are sort of Formula Ones of model railways, aren't they? They're hellishly overpowered little rocket ships, and it has no problem pushing, pulling the Sharge. The motor in these things is exactly the same as the 47, so they're hellishly overpowered. Good little rocket ships. There you are. Now I've got an example of a bit of cleaning cloth here. I am still on my, this is the original one supplied. I've not cleaned that. What I do when I've changed it over, I wash it in warm soapy water and it comes up almost as new. And I've cut a second one. Again, I'm being stingy because I don't want to start sending off little bits of cloth from the other side of the world. And that's on there, and I leave them on for 4 or 5 cleans and then swap them over. Again, the only issue I found with this is, as you can see, it is beginning to come unthreaded at the edges. I hope that's in focus. Yeah. That seems to be, not sure if it's catching on points or whatever, but obviously that's the way it's going to wear out, because it's not wearing out here. It is not wearing out on the face. But yeah, I think I've got 2 packs of these, one with the Sharge, I don't know, I bought a spare one, so I should be alright for a while. So my overall assessment is, as I said earlier, I wouldn't want to be without it. It has made my life very easy. Oops, the wind is getting up. In tunnels, under bridges, those little areas that you struggle with, or I was struggling with, in the station, where my hand would smash and bash canopies, bridges, people, that's all history now. So I would say that the track cleaner does about 90% of the work, and then I just follow up with the track rubber where, I'm not sure about you guys, but my track seems to attract dirt in certain areas, especially on points. So if I see a stutter, I whip out the track rubber and fix the problem that way. But as far as the investment is concerned, yeah, very happy with it. Right, well I hope that's answered the questions or given you an insight into this product. I would recommend it. Made my life easier. Very happy to use it, and it's a pleasure to use it. Now it's a pleasure to come in and think, right, I've got to clean the track, and you run a train around and watch it do its work. So hoping you like this, and from Kampala Road, cheers for now.